In this video, we are taking a tour of some beautiful, gorgeous facilities at KPCC in Los Angeles. I say they're beautiful, I say they're gorgeous. They really are beautiful and gorgeous and well done, and the team there has got a first-rate facility. So, Lance Harper was our tour guide, the chief engineer for KPCC, and I was fortunate enough to be able to tag along on this group. So, without further ado, let's follow Lance around and get the tour of the facility at KPCC.
Hi, this building was actually a bakery back in the 1920s. We purchased the building in, 2007.
Why not? I've not been here.
Sat on it for a couple years before we got the funding enough to build it out. Moved in 2010. Did a lot of construction. $28 million and a lot of work. Collected a lot of radios over the years. Some are working, some are not. Almost all of them weren't working, but I'm the one that's rebuilding them. Well, if you're in public radio, you probably touched one of these, an LPB board, at some point, and carts. I started in 1994, so all these carts I've touched not only the outside, but I wound the insides. Oh, did it come off?
Yeah, but
oh, no biggie. Let's come over here. Go to the TOC first. It's the Technical Operations Center. It's kept at 70 degrees. It's been 70 degrees since 2009. It's never been above that. It's got two air conditioners. One's on, one's off. They toggle every week. This is where our NPR network feed comes down on the C dish up on top of the roof. Comes down on these three receivers. 12 streams come in. Yeah, 12. Plus all the static files like Fresh Air. Some of our magazine shows actually come in on files instead of live audio streams. We also have connections to our mothership back in St. Paul, Minnesota, American Public Media Group. We use the 89.3, the current. It's kind of like KCRW's format. That's our HD2 channel on all of our stations. All of our connections to our transmitter sites, all the audio comes from here, but the connections are all done, all of our connections now are via fiber optic. So we use those IP links that you just heard about right now. The KPC signal is one main, two booster sites, and one backup site. Actually, three booster sites.
Quick question, your transmitter location, where's it at?
Mount Wilson.
Oh,
Well, Mount Wilson is the main. Santa Clarita was the first booster. West side is our second and third booster. The audio is processed through our Omnia 9. We do AES 192 into the IP link, and the HD2 is also transported via the IP link. KVLA out in Santa Clarita is also our HD2 through our IP link, and everything else is transported via Comrex at the moment. But they're going to be over IP link probably in the next year. When COVID hit, we went very heavily into using Opal. What the convenient part about using Opal was it gave us the ability to connect with our hosts and our guests at their house using just their laptops instead of having to have a dedicated piece of hardware at their house. Now that said, our primary hosts that we had at their house, we bought them actually Comrex Gear. Sort of like these Comrex units, but a little bit more portable with a built-in mixer for them.
I went in the shop before we go in.
Yeah, when we go to the shop, we'll see those. So we were actually pretty set by the time the shutdowns happened. It was pretty nice. This is our PPM Gear. That just encodes little watermarks. So that's our basic, how we get our ratings. We go to the back wall. Oh, one other thing, if you notice, there's a lot of blank spaces here because almost everything now is software, not hardware. These are connections to all of our studios. We have 2 main Cisco switches for this floor. Everything we do, all of our network gear is Cisco. All of our network gear at the transmitter sites are Cisco. We have a Cisco admin on staff. Being part of American Public Media Group, they have over 260 stations. We have 11 transmitter sites ourselves. We have enough on our responsibility plate to afford a full-fledged IT infrastructure that kind of rivals most banks. So security is way on the a high priority. So we have Meraki's, we have VPNs, we have, like I said, a lot of security that most radio stations can't afford or wouldn't have, which is a good thing. This is our core for the rest of everything else that's here that is not Axia related. The bottom of the core is for our more of the broadcast gear. The top of the core is for the desktop computers, phones, everything business related. Axia engines for the consoles. Wide orbit, that is our automation system here. Our news cuts are actually done on Burley. That's for news production and news cuts.
If you're, what is it called? EMPS? If you're more, you can hear.
Yeah, the news wires are on that as well.
Yeah. So pretty much we moved on to Burley now.
Yeah.
It does the same exact thing, but just a little.
The
It works
bar.
well also with wide orbit, so we can actually ingest things. They can cross ingest, so it works pretty well.
Yep.
Hi, I'm going to take a moment here and recognize the sponsor of today's video, LinkUp Communications. When your content has to get to your audience, you can count on their content distribution using XDS and other industry-leading platforms. LinkUp has provided distribution solutions with the highest degree of reliability for over 3 decades. If you're wanting more information about their services or just who are they, visit their website at linkupcommunications.com. And now, back to the video.
Okay. There's 3 of these type of studios. Do you want to turn the light on that side?
Yep.
This is what we call our combo studios. They're not usually for live on air. These are for producing a lot of content for airlet at a later time. Maybe the same day, maybe not. We do a lot of podcasts here. We do quite a bit of podcast production now. We also do a lot of news events, sometimes that has a quick turnaround that we do in here. We can either do individual production in that room and this room, or we can do a combo where we're mixing from this position and we have the talent in there. And we have 3 sets of this. Come on up.
So all of our systems Axia.
Oh.
So that's what you're going to see everywhere. And the reason we also use this called Axia and Pathfinder to be able to actually be independent or combo. So that one actually, when you press it on the main side that you want to take over that studio, it takes it over automatically and changes all the inputs and outputs for you that you don't need to do that. But you just have to hardwire stuff. So Axia makes it a lot easier because it's just, as long as it's on the network, it's connected to a node. You guys see all those Axia nodes, little black little boxes. As long as it's connected to that, it can be seen everywhere. And all you need to do is just bring it up as a source. And on Pathfinder, it's a little bit more like coding it in a sense. And then you say, oh, when I press this button, I want these changes to go to this. I mean, all these ins and outs to go to this. And then revert back when I press back that button.
It's a lot better than the old days. Like when we were on the campus and I wired that studio, it was hundreds and hundreds of miles of wire. Because wherever you wanted the audio, you were going to a DA and then going to that board and another output of a DA to that studio, another part DA out to another studio. Here, you just put a node where the audio is, and that's it.
For the user, it makes it so much easier.
Yes, a lot
Obviously, they're
easier.
switching over to
And
that,
another
and I
thing
was
you can do
like,
is if you have your laptop, you just add an Axia audio driver to it, and any source here is on your laptop now. It's a much easier way. Also, we have a no patch base. If you notice, there was no
Pathfinder is the patch bay.
yeah
Pretty much.
Pathfinder.
it was all physically done.
No physical
previously.
patch bays at all. The only patch bay kind of you'll see is just our patch
Right.
for our Cat 5e runs.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
But it also means your boards are not really a board anymore. It's just a keyboard. It's a control surface.
Yeah.
Which means your mic's always hot too. It's always a source available anywhere. That on button doesn't really mean anything. Someone can listen to you.
Yep. Whatever the studio you wear, microphone.
This is our master control, which is a misnomer. That's an old way of thinking. In the old days, when everything was a hard wire from one point to another point in the radio studios, you had to have a master control point because that was the last part of your air of
All at the same time.
the audio before it went to the TOC in the air chain. You don't need that anymore. Now our master control follows wherever the audio is. So in the morning, that would be Studio D, where the morning news show is at. And then after that, it goes to Control Room A, where the daily news magazine comes out of. They take over the air chain.
So it
There's
works
not
with-
one master control here. There's
So
you
It's
swap.
wherever
we want.
whoever has control of the.
That's so cool.
And so that it moves all over the place. So right now, actually, master control is Studio C at the moment. You notice there's a guy in there.
So pretty much, yeah. So
Is
it's
it salvo or macro?
it's actually just a macro.
Macro.
Yeah. So it's Axia and Pathfinder again, letting you know you just build it out what you want it to do, and what it's really just doing is it takes the node that's connected to the EAS and switches into program 1 from whichever studio you want it to be. So program 1 out of C, and then when they're using it here, they're like, okay, we're out of C, and then we're gonna do air talk. Air talk's usually out of A. So then when it comes around 9 o'clock, they go, all right, I want to switch over. They open up a UI system on their computer. They say, I want to take it to A. Hit it. Automatically tells Pathfinder, all right, we need to change now the EAS input to program 1 on board A. And then that's it.
Then also if wide orbit, again, our automation system, if it's in full automation, it can take over the air chain completely, and then it's not in any studio. And it's doing the patch points internally in Axia, and it becomes the head of their chain. So let's say it's taking Condet, which is our satellite, Condet Depot Channel 2.
Usually the one we use.
So that's our NPR main news channel 1. Puts that directly into the air chain. It
Via
feeds that to the
workflow,
station.
or
Yeah, that would be the head of the audio chain, and then it would play the spots out of wide orbit, go back to the news channel, and then at 4 a.m. when it goes back to a live person here, it would go to Studio D.
So wide orbit is your
Automation,
automation
playback.
and playback.
Yes.
Correct. Main playback. I said our news production, in-house news production is done in Burley. So like when our in-house news production, so local news production is done in Burley. So from the news department upstairs coming up with their whiteboard ideas to writing copy to making its audio production and then playback, all is being done. Well, most of it's being done in Burley. Some of it is being done in Pro Tools or Adobe Audition, but it's being produced and played in Burley.
Burley. Who manufactures that?
Burley.
Burley.
Burley's a
Yeah,
manufacturer.
it's part of
It is a news product. So if you're a news station, a news audio station,
you know of, like,
or a news
KPCC
TV station,
News
even you're going to be using
Hour,
Burley.
Those are the two big ones I do know about.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
it's
Burley's
usually
the
what they
biggest.
use to like get live feeds of AP wires straight to that, so all the audio goes into that system,
Either
and they
AP
build a
and
rundown
ENPS
through that for their shows.
which looks like it hasn't
News
changed.
box.
The product
News box,
looks
that's
the
the other
same
one.
as it
Yeah.
did in the 1990s,
Similar to that.
or Burley, which is a more modern product.
If you just walk in the buildings, is there a way to know which studio's live, or does it just have to kind of?
It lights up.
It does light up,
Well,
okay.
if the mic is on.
Oh, the mic's on. No, I mean
Yeah.
just which one's on. Like the audio is coming. I guess.
It's a secret.
No, if the one that has a
Kinda
live
cool to go,
body
this
in
one's
it.
actually. Yeah.
So
You just hope you don't
So they have
forget. I
a
guess.
DPI trigger.
So
I
not
can just see
outside,
myself.
not outside the studios, you'll
Yeah.
see that, but on the board itself,
Oh,
there's
what's
actually
that?
a light that says.
Yeah, there
on air.
is an indicator
There's a green
on the
light that
board.
goes on air, and the rest of them are red. That's all.
Got it.
So let you
Yes,
know that.
and if you go into any of the studios, there is an indicator that says which board has
Yes.
the air change.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I'm just saying, as a user, I would like I could walk in here and forget who's.
And if it says
on the air,
WO,
or
that
screw
means
something up.
Wide Orbit has the air
Not,
change.
And if
got
someone's
it.
talking, don't interrupt them.
yeah. I've done it plenty of times. Been scolded. Yeah.
Yeah, and if the host comes out and tells you to shut the hell up,
Yeah.
then you
Finger.
which has happened to me.
Something thrown at you.
It's not a good time.
I just got started.
Like I said, those are three exactly the same studios, and a lot of times they are full. Okay, these are our two main talk studios. Like I said, we are a news station, so we still actually have a call-in style talk show. They're kind of a dying thing nowadays, but in public radio, they're still quite alive.
I'll follow you.
I'm just turning the lights on that side. Come on this way. This is one of my favorite studios because this was the first one I built out. So this is our main talk show room. We do air talk from 9 to 11 every day, Monday through Friday. We think we have about 550,000 listeners a week to this show. He's been on air for about, I think it's 39 years this year.
Wow. What was the number? 550?
About 550,000 listeners per week. Yeah, very loyal listeners. Like we have a lot of the callers that we know by name, like Tom from Glendale. I think he calls almost every segment, almost like a ritual. Yeah. As you can see, the operator faces this way and the host is off this way. These studios were designed by Russ Berger Design. He's a pretty famous studio designer. In fact, if you notice the acoustic treatment in here, back here, if you the Jimmy Fallon show, the Tonight Show, if you look at the acoustic wall right next to the band, it looks just like that. That's kind of the Russ Berger signature that he does. He builds these. Yeah, the NPR was designed by Russ Berger as well. Now, when we built this studio out, I did have Hot Wheels in there. I did have some Star Wars figurines in there until somebody stole some of my stuff. So I took it all out. Back here, we got our head producer here. Now, this person is facing Larry. She controls who the next caller he's going to take. If the guest is getting a little too boring or is getting a little too hostile, she's going to signal to him, wrap it up, or also like make sure that he's staying on time. In fact, our number one podcast that we have is this show. The Axia boards that we have are the latest generation. They're the Axia Quasars. We got them as a donation from the Ashire Foundation here in Los Angeles. Being a public station, we don't generate a lot of dollars. Most of our dollars come from listener donations. About 0.1% of our money comes from the feds, from the Corporation Public Broadcasting. The CPB fund is only about $540 million, but that's for every FM or all public stations, radio stations in America, plus all of the public TV stations in America. So for us in Los Angeles or a New York station or San Francisco, it's not a large amount. But for little small stations in Idaho or Oklahoma or something, it's a huge amount because their corporate sponsors are like the donut shop down the street. For us, it's, the Mercedes-Benz of Beverly Hills. So they can afford to have a sponsorship for our morning edition. But we can't charge the same as a KISS FM because we're limited what they can say in those ads. We can not do a call to action. So like we can't say like a new type of Mercedes-Benz. We can't say, hey, there's a big sale coming on this weekend. We can just say this morning edition is brought to you by Mercedes of Beverly Hills. That's it. No more. So we, like KISS FM can charge $2,500 or $5,000 an ad. We can charge $400. It's a pretty big difference. So we do rely heavily on, that's why you hear public stations, they're annoying to a lot of people and we get a massive drop off, but we have to do those pledge drives. So that's this room. And there's more of those nodes. In the modern day studio, you're going to see a lot of these nodes because you put nodes where the audio's at and where the audio's coming at. And like when we first started building out these studios, we found one thing that we didn't calculate for: how many outputs you need in a studio. You never think about it. Like the number of headphones in here, we didn't account for enough. So it's always something to think. Oh yeah, and the number of screens, we didn't count enough for that. We kept adding more and more over time. And if you look over here on the talent side, we've just modified. If you notice the new mic stands in there, how they're facing downward. Yeah. That was something else they didn't mention during the podcast discussion today. The type of mics you use, because video is becoming more and more important. But something that I also need to talk about video is the orientation of your video, horizontal or vertical. That's a pretty big debate right now. Horizontal is great for YouTube. Vertical is great for phones. So we're doing more vertical than anything right now.
Yeah, if you want any type of video for on the way.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
There you go.
so weird to watch.
Let's come this way. Yeah, that's my office there. That's cleaned up.
This is Lance's office.
One of the best things when we moved in here is we got a shop because we didn't have a shop of any kind before.
You don't have your office? You don't have an office?
I have a cubicle.
Second, yeah.
It's cheap, but yeah. No.
Our TOC was the master control. Our shop was the master control.
I know it's going to ask.
The Tesla coil is down in the basement, so you don't get to see that one today. I do have a Tesla coil. It's down in the basement. Usually I give that as part of the tour, but unfortunately the protection circuit did its job.
The flux
It blew up.
capacitor is not.
Well, now the Tesla coil, it ate its little protective circuit.
This is Comrex we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
So pretty much this is the Comrex part of it. Then you can add
Had the
this little
expansion.
thing,
It
and
gives you
to expand
6
it,
microphones.
6 ins and outs. Pretty much is all they need to broadcast and internet to broadcast from home. Anyway.
Can you use Wi-Fi on it, or can you just
You can use
plug in
Wi-Fi.
a
You can
Cat5?
actually it has an Ethernet port,
Ethernet, yeah.
and also there's a little wireless adapter, which is
Oh, okay.
right here, just a little
Nice.
antenna connected right here.
And it doesn't take a tremendous amount of bandwidth either.
Oh, okay.
In fact, we have used it we use Cradle Points as our secondary connection at all of our transmitter sites, and it seems to work quite well. Like I said, we use Meraki VPN firewalls at each one of the sites as a backup internet connection, and all of them have a Verizon and an AT&T card in them. Most of them have a bandwidth of about 45 megabits, and they all seem to connect quite well either with the Comrex or the IP link.
So you're saying that your transmitter sites, that's where the Comrex transmits to, not here?
Well,
No.
I use a rack mount at the transmitter site, not these. Actually, we do have one of these units at my site in Santa Clarita, just because I'm waiting until next year to buy another rack mount.
Yeah, they're pretty nice. I mean, you can we actually did a remote with a little mobile hotspot, Verizon. That's how we ended up doing one in Alhambra not that long ago. It's like we actually were lucky to partner with a record shop that were going to actually let us use their internet, but there was a weird miscommunication. There wasn't a talk about when they opened the shop to when the actual event starts in the street. So luckily, I already thought of a backup. Like, all right, we're going to use a mobile hotspot, a Verizon one. They just automatically connect to that, open, and we're on air. No problems whatsoever.
Yeah, the advantage of using the Meraki VPN is between that Meraki and the Meraki here, it actually massages the data a little bit better and creates another FEC, another forward error correction in that path. Whereas using the mobile hotspot, there's none of that. So we were a little iffy on that one.
Yeah, you're at the will of how many people were on the Verizon network at
Yeah.
the same time you were at all the cell towers there. Luckily, it wasn't as bad, so it just sounded pretty good. Until the record shop opened, and then we ran the cable to the guy.
And I misspoke. That's my backup everywhere except for Mount Wilson. Mount Wilson, I have an 18 gigahertz as a secondary. Fiber is the primary. That's it for this. That's pretty much it for the tour.
Okay, was I right? Beautiful facilities. Gorgeous. Anyways, one thing I really like about that is that it's a well-run, well-designed, and implemented Axia facility. Telos Systems makes a audio over IP product called Axia, and I'm a big fan of it. I'm very familiar with it, but this KPCC is a shining example of a facility that has implemented Axia and has done it very well. And they use a lot of Pathfinder logic flows and macros and things like that. I'm a big fan of Pathfinder with Axia. You can do all kinds of incredible things. And I made a video on how I used it at my previous job, and I thought I was using it quite a bit there. No, what I'm doing now is way beyond what I ever thought I would be doing, but that's for another time, for another video. If you enjoyed this video today, come view some of the other ones, watch some of the other videos that I have, both studio tours and transmitter tours. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, keep learning.